Okay, at this time, I will call the school board meeting to order. I would like to welcome each of you to tonight's meeting, July the 19th, 2021, the Madison County School Board meeting. Anyone wishing to address the board may do so during public input. You will have 3 minutes to address the board. The sign-in sheet to speak during public input is on the table to the left as you enter the boardroom. Our school board minutes are being recorded this evening by Ms. Bishop. Board members present are Mr. Carroll, Ms. Bell, Ms. Gibson, Ms. Williamson, and myself, Bart Alford. Our board attorney, Mr. Tommy Reeves, is also present. Okay, at this time, again, I would like to welcome each of you to tonight's meeting. If you would all please stand for a moment of silence, and then we'll proceed with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, welcome to tonight's meeting. On our agenda, we have some amendments to the agenda. 2.1 is going to stay. It's the proposed budget, our trim. 2.2 will be moved to 5.5, the Code of Student Conduct, and it will be a public hearing. And 2.3 will go under consent at 4.12. So does everyone have that? Okay, 2.1 will remain where it's at. 2.2, the Code of Student Conduct will now be 5.5 under individual consideration, and 2.3 will be moved to consent under 4.12. And that is the administrative salary schedule. Okay, at this time we will go to our trim with Ms. Rainick. Good evening.
Well, today's the fun day where we talk about the proposed budget for that we're going to be advertising for the tentative millage, and you have an agenda sheet that I'm going to go over briefly, but then I'm going to go into a little tiny PowerPoint to kind of help explain it a little bit easier. The total millage rate for this year is going to be 5.840, and it is 0.04% more than the rollback rate, which I'll explain. The required local effort is 3.592. That is a required effort that the Department of Education assigns us. Every district has the right to do a discretionary millage of 0.748. And then we have a capital outlay millage of 1.5. So let's look at the PowerPoint, and maybe I'll make this a little easier for you to understand so that if you get questions, maybe you'll be able to answer them. There are several steps in this process. The first step is the property appraiser assigns values to all of the property in Madison County. The next step, the Department of Education determines how much local effort every school district has to put in to match the state funding that is in the FEFP. Then the school board has to develop a proposed budget that's based on the millage rate. They're also going to have to analyze the millage rate to determine whether it's either increased or decreased from what they call the rollback rate, which will be talked about in a minute. And then they hold the public hearings and advertise the millage rates. And then the school board reviews, makes recommendations, approves, and the millage rates are adopted for the school year. Property values. Let's talk about property values for a minute. Property values for 2020, as you can see, kind of sideways, $814.4 million for the total Madison County property values in 2020. In 2021, they're $868.6 million. The makeup of the millage rate, the 3.592 is the required local effort. That's a rate that the Department of Education assigns to this district. Every district is different depending on the effort that they need to put in. There's the discretionary millage of 0.748, and there's the capital outlay millage. All three of those millages make up that 5.84 total millage that we have. What that looks like in dollars. Typically, the district only collects about 96% of what the actual millage rate is. There are some people that may not get their taxes paid on time. So about 96% of our 3.592 millage is going to generate about a little over $3 million. Our discretionary millage is going to generate about $600,000, and our capital outlay is about $1.2 million. That all is what that 5.840 means. Rollback rate. This is the most interesting thing. What they do to determine the rollback rate is they look at how much, what was 100% of the taxes that should have been collected last year. And that would have been a little over $3 million that should have been collected if we collected 100%. Then they look at how much the total property values are this year. And what they do is they divide what we should have collected by the value of the property to come up with a rate that they call a rollback rate. So it would have taken 3.552% in order to generate the same amount of money if the value of property last year was the $868,000. So let me go over that again. The 100% of what we should have collected last year divided by what property values are this year to try and figure out what kind of millage it would have been to get that much money again this year with this year's property values. So the rollback rate is 3.552%. So remember, you're being asked, or the department has assigned us a rollback rate of 3.592%. So we are 0.04% over what the rollback rate was for last year. So we have to announce that we have a property tax increase because we're over what the rollback rate is. Very low. What that kind of looks like, again, in property taxes and school budgets, I think you slide past that. Oh, right in the center, $34,746 if we collect everything is what that equates to, at 0.4%. So if you look at it again, the total expected dollars for the expected millage funding to come to the district over this school year, if we collect 100%, is almost $4.9 million.
The 34 was additional, right? With the
34 would be what that 0.04% equals.
Okay.
If we collect all 100% of the taxes.
Which never happens.
So, questions? I hope I didn't confuse you.
No, ma'am, it was
That was good.
Okay.
I'd like
Very
a hard
good.
copy of that, please.
You want a hard copy, you get it. You got it. Okay, so, based on your agenda and based on those rates, we have done a proposed budget summary. And I think that you all have copies of that, don't you?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. If you'll look at it, I'm just going to give you some general information about it. The one point is that the $32 million in the bottom right corner for our budget is almost $2 million over what our budget was last year for our proposed budget. However, if you look over 3 columns where you see the 6.225169, that's how much federal money we're getting in this year. So that's $2 million over what we got last year. That's where your ESSER money is coming in. So your ESSER money and other ESSER money we might get throughout the year is going to increase that budget. However, if you jump up to the top left corner in the general fund and you look at the total revenue of 19.149, that is almost $750,000 less than what the revenue was last year. Primarily, that comes from the reduction in the FTE, the 640-some thousand that we were supposed to get, plus that they project that we're going to be down in enrollment. And it also comes from, they take the cost of family empowerment and the cost of McKay scholarships out of our revenue, and that came to over $100,000. So you're looking at about a $750,000 decrease in revenues, but the expenditures we're projecting and we're going to have to hold to are going to have to come down about $500,000. But our overall general budget, operating budget, is up $2 million because of the federal dollars. And I'm asking that there be a motion to approve the millage rates and approve the proposed budgets and approve it for advertisement, because it has to be advertised before we have our budget meeting, our public meeting, which is scheduled for July 27th at 6 p.m. in the board office.
Number 2, you have to do the one individually.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Rainick. We'll proceed. Is there a motion? Is there a motion for the required local effort?
I'll make the motion to approve the required local effort at 3.592.
Okay, it's been properly moved by Ms. Williamson. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Bell. Is there any discussion? If there's none, all those in favor, show a hand, please. 5-0, Ms. Bishop, for approval. Is there a motion to approve the discretionary millage?
I move to approve the discretionary millage of 7.748.
It's been properly moved by Ms. Gibson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Williamson. Is there any discussion? There's no discussion. All those in favor, show a hand, please. 5-0, Ms. Bishop, for approval. Is there a motion for the capital outlay?
I make the motion to approve the capital outlay at 1.5.
It's been properly moved by Ms. Bell. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Mr. Carroll. Is there any discussion? There's no discussion. All those in favor, show a hand, please. 5-0, Ms. Bishop, for approval. Okay, is there a motion to approve to advertise the superintendent's tentative budget?
I'll make the motion to approve to advertise the superintendent's tentative budget at the 5.84.
Okay, it's been properly moved by Ms. Williamson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Carroll. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, it's been properly moved by Ms. Williamson to advertise the superintendent's tentative budget. All those in favor, show a hand, please. 5-0, Ms. Bishop, for approval.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rainick. Is there a motion to adjourn this aspect of our meeting?
I make the motion to adjourn.
Okay, it's been properly moved by Ms. Bell to adjourn the trim. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Williamson. Any discussion? There's no discussion. All those in favor, show a hand, please. 5-0, Ms. Bishop, for approval to adjourn the trim, and we'll proceed into the school board meeting. Thank you, Ms. Rainick. Okay, at this time, comments from the public. Are there any comments from the public? No comments from the public this evening? Okay, consent items. 4.1 would be the minutes from our last meeting. 4.2 is the revisions to the 2021-2022 student calendar. 4.3 is a cooperative service agreement with the Florida State University Multidisciplinary Center for Evaluation and Consultation of students within the district. 4.4 is cooperative agreement with the Madison County Sheriff's Department for incarcerated students. 4.5 is a contract with Smith Therapy for occupational therapy. That's Chandra Smith, occupational therapist. 4.6, contract with Angela Brooks, speech therapy for speech therapy services. 4.7, contract with psychological services for school and families. That's with Jackie Akers, school psychologist. 4.8 is contract with Madison Therapy and Wellness for physical therapy. That's Kirsten Searcy, physical therapist, providing those services to the students. 4.9, contract with Stephanie Hall for speech therapy services to the students. 4.10 is contract with Kim Buchanan for speech therapy services for the students of the district. 4.11 is contract with Cezal's Autism Services is for applied behavioral analysis for the 2021-2022 school year for autistic students, and that is Jennifer Cezal's from Valdosta, Georgia. Those are all, I'm sorry, in 4.12, administrative salary schedule. We had approved it last week, and there was a slight reduction that's been added, so it's been put back under the consent. Okay, is there a motion to approve the consent items?
I move to approve the consent agenda items.
Okay, it's been properly moved by Ms. Gibson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Williamson. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, all those in favor, show a hand, please. 5-0, Ms. Bishop, for approval of the consent items. Okay, 5.1, personnel changes. Mr. Killingsworth.
Good evening.
Good evening.
If we would, the list before you, we have 2 that are for administration. We have 10 that are instructional positions that we're asking for recommendation as well. Now, the next part, the non-instructional employee recommendation, which is, there's 3 names there. Dawn and Roxanne, which are the first 2 that are, if you go over to the right, that are bus drivers. Those 2, I have to ask that you remove those names from there. They've since backed out, so we just got that today. So unfortunately, that's why we're having to do that, and I'd rather do it now than have to come back to you and then ask for resignation. So, and that area, there'll only be 1 name there, which is Heather. And then at the bottom, you have the 4 employees that either have retired, moved jobs, or have moved off. But at this time, those are the recommendations that we have.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
The 2, Schmiegel and Curtis Harmon, I think what you're saying, Madam Superintendent, is this is the superintendent's list, so the superintendent's removing them from that list.
Yes,
Okay.
because we have printed this and tried to have it in the packet ahead of time, but we've got notice, and so we're trying to correct it before we get it approved.
Right.
So we'll
So
have to
it-
unapprove.
So it's not the board that removes those names, the superintendent removes it, and then you all vote on the other names that the superintendent is
Correct.
recommended to you.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the personnel recommendations excluding the 2 names?
I move.
Okay, it's been properly moved by Mr. Carroll. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Bell. Any discussion?
Mr. Killingsworth, is it normal procedure, like for instance, if someone's applying for a position and they've been at various schools, that you contact all those schools that they've been to?
You try to contact all of them. I mean, unfortunately, you're not able to, for one reason or another, sometimes get up with everyone. But they do have due diligence to try to contact all the people to see is there any things that may warrant you not wanting to hire one of them.
Right, now what if the
Actually, there's some new laws coming out that
Oh, there are?
will be requiring that.
Okay, what if the applicant doesn't give you, they let you know they've been there, but they don't want, they're not bringing forth a recommendation from that school district?
You can check their references, and, I mean, you can check other places. Now, if you find out, let's say we hire someone and we find out there's some false pretenses there, they didn't come clean with some stuff, and there's some stuff they're hiding, then that would be grounds to terminate
Okay.
that, because they did not disclose
Right.
all
So
the
in other words,
information.
we approve this tonight.
Yes, ma'am.
But in the meantime, because you haven't heard from all of their recommendations yet.
Yes, ma'am. If one of them, or some of them with the asterisk, if we find out that there's some issues that we don't need to hire them,
Okay.
then we do away with that.
That's
We don't
what I think
want
I was
them. Yes,
wondering,
ma'am.
because
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
No,
where you were
I
coming
think,
from.
well, I probably didn't state it clearly enough, but that's what I'm wondering, because I noticed that some of these, you haven't heard from the person that you contacted. And for one reason or another, maybe, I
Yes,
mean,
ma'am.
you probably will eventually. But I mean, they may say something that we think, well, this is not going to work out.
Yes, ma'am. You always can't take them
In the meantime, we're
at
approving
their
them
word.
here. So in other words, even though they're approved, they still,
They can still, for lack of better words, be disapproved.
Okay.
If that's how you
May
want to
I
look at it.
interject something here? This has to do with something that we do internal, the FDLOE. We have to do 2 levels of background checks through the system.
right.
And we have to do fingerprinting. Sometimes we don't have all that information back. Okay, and so this is not the part of doing a reference check. This is checking in our system.
Background check.
Doing background.
Right.
That's what this is, asterisk is about.
Yeah, I know, I'm actually more concerned about the people that worked with the applicant. You know, in other words, they know their performance.
They would have
This
called.
background check
But it said pending.
doesn't, you know.
I'm explaining the purpose of the asterisk
Yeah,
adjacent to it.
Yeah, I see that.
Or
Yeah,
have
thank you.
it sent them back.
We've done them, but we haven't gotten the information back.
Right, right.
Because, at this time of the year, there's a massive amount of people trying to be employed, so they can only
Right.
do, at a
Right, I
certain rate.
understand
So we
that.
just haven't gotten the return on that aspect yet.
Okay, yeah, I feel a little better now, I mean, knowing that.
And we can always let someone go
Yes, sir.
within the
Well,
first.
Yes, sir.
Well, that's right, yeah.
For no,
That's your catch-all. Now, obviously, you don't want to get your school set up thinking somebody's going to be a teacher, and then you turn out you can't have,
Yeah.
that's disruptive and all that. But
That's
yeah,
right.
But you've always got that
6.
It's a year now.
Not catch-all that you
Yeah.
determine.
Right.
It's
and we're on
1 year.
Time frame right now, we can't wait, in other words, we have to nail some things down, I
Yeah.
realize that too, so. Okay, thank you, Mr. Killingsworth.
You're welcome.
okay, thank you. Our next item, 5.2, restore,
Sir, did,
We
I
didn't
don't think
vote.
y'all voted.
We didn't vote.
We didn't vote.
sorry about that. Okay, all those in favor, show of hand, please. 5-0, Ms. Bishop, for approval
Thank
of the
you.
personnel matters. 5.2, Restorative Justice Program, Ms. Joseph.
Okay, this is a program that we are using it to target the discipline at Madison County Central School. Okay, we are about educating our kids, but when discipline gets in the way, we can't educate. We feel it's hampering us providing a good quality education to our students. And this is a program that's being seconded by PACE, that we're gonna put this in place. And we started working on it in December of 2019. Okay, and we're filling it up. And so he's done the training with the administrators and some of the people involved. What he's gonna do, he's gonna be working directly with the staff to ensure their full implementation on it. And so we're gonna take away all the barriers of not being fully implementing. Okay, we've in the past, we're good at sending people to training, Okay, but we haven't been following through and ensuring that it has been fully implemented. So we're taking away all the barriers and making sure that we're having the support, the central school is having the support they need to ensure that we get that discipline right.
Well, we're all in favor of giving them support wherever they need. I would think that it would be the administrators that would be overseeing if this is followed through.
Well, he's gonna work
Yeah.
with the administrators because they've had the opportunity before. And, the discipline has gotten out of hand, okay? And we've got to wriggle it back in and give them the support that they need and the assistance they need to make sure that we have discipline under control. We've got to get our discipline as well as our academics under control. And it's hard to get your academics under control when your discipline is out of control.
Joe,
True.
was this the guy that came in and spoke with us?
Yes.
About bridging the community,
Yes,
the schools and the families together?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, are there any other questions concerning?
Let me ask you this, now, he was here in March of 2020. Now, that was a grant that he was working off of, right, at that point?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that continuing for this year also, or?
No, that grant is not continuing.
Okay. So we are putting a substantial investment in this then?
Yes, ma'am, and we will ensure that.
And I, for one, I don't know about the rest of the board members, I'd like to hear some ongoing input about this, what's going on there.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, either he can come and give a presentation or
Someone from the school.
Or
School.
someone from the school,
Okay.
right.
We will give you periodic updates
Yeah.
on the progress of their
Good,
implementation of the
because
program.
this is quite an investment, and I'd like to see it, how it transpires.
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe, Ms. Joseph, I know back, this was years ago, which certainly I do not want this again, but back we were given all the referrals, which I'm not asking for that.
Thank you.
But just
We give
possibly,
you numbers.
possibly a discipline report that would be run for the board to give us, seeing if the discipline is improving or getting worse. Back when we first came on the board, we got a big packet that had every referral in the district. We, the board members, got a copy of. I do not want that, but I would like to see the discipline numbers, maybe at Central and the high school, the two biggest schools,
Okay.
to see if there's any trends that we need to be aware of.
I
And-
agree that in order to educate, we got to get the disciplinary.
Okay. And the state is helping us also this year. The state is requiring us to do monthly CERSA reporting. Am I correct? Yeah. And so we will be definitely looking at paying more closer attention to the discipline in our district.
Okay, are there any more questions concerning restorative justice program and practices? Does everyone understand what this is? I mean, does everyone understand what the purpose of this? The purpose is, and Ms. Joseph can correct me, is to make sure that we try to discipline students, but yet keep them in school where we're not sending home a mass number of students and then they're at home and not being educated, and then when it comes time to test time, they're below grade level, and just a vicious cycle. So we are trying to keep them in school while still providing discipline in the school. Okay, is there a motion to approve the restorative justice program at Madison County Central?
I move to approve the restorative justice program at Madison County Central School.
Okay, it's been properly moved by Ms. Gibson. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Bell. Any discussion? There's no further discussion. All those in favor, show of hand, please. 5-0, Ms. Bishop, for approval of the restorative justice program at Madison County Central School. 5.3 is the Chromebook recycling agreement we have in the district with Phone Hero LLC in Tallahassee, Florida.
First off, to apologize, I just realized when I pulled it up online that an older version of it got uploaded. This is what you have in front of you is the actual agreement. The first 2 pages are just cover letter. The only changes from what's online is on the 3rd page, is that data removal is explicitly spelled out in the contract, and there was one more model of Chromebook added because we have a few more older ones that they're also going to pick up.
And the prices you got here is per piece of equipment.
Yes,
So if
that's-
they pick up 10 Dells, that would be $110.
Yeah, that's a per unit price.
All right.
Are there any questions concerning this recycling agreement?
I don't know if this is a good question, but I'll ask it anyway. What is the life expectancy of one of our Chromebooks, let's say, or computers, or laptops, or whatever we?
It varies.
average.
The oldest Chromebooks that we're decommissioning this year are between 5 and 6 years old. Some of the ones we decommissioned last year a couple of them were pushing 7 years. So the Chromebooks are decommissioned either when they just break or when they're not able to be updated anymore. Now a laptop, we've got laptops that are 7 and 8 years old.
How many pieces of equipment are we talking about?
We've got close to 1,000 Chromebooks that we're getting rid of this year. We had about 75. Well, if you remember back in April, we bought a big purchase of Chromebooks, and these are all the junk ones that those replaced. We had almost 75% of our Chromebooks were end of life and couldn't be upgraded. So we bought new ones, and then we're going to salvage what we can get out of the old ones.
Do you, in your opinion, feel like the equipment's being well taken care of and respected at the schools?
I mean, it's probably as best as can be. I mean, we see damage, but
The
for the most
typical
part,
normal,
it's
yeah.
not terribly widespread.
Okay, is there any further questions concerning the Chromebook recycling agreement? Okay, is there a motion to approve the recycling agreement?
I'll make the motion to approve the Chromebook recycling agreement.
It's been properly moved by Ms. Williamson. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Seconded by Mr. Carroll. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, all those in favor, show a hand, please. 5-0, Ms. Bishop, for approval of the Chromebook recycling agreement. Thank you. Okay, 5.4, financial report for the month ending June the 30th, 2021. Ms. Rainick?
Okay. If you will look at the report in front of you, we'll go through it kind of quickly, but page by page. Let's start with the first page. If you'll notice, the revenues went from like 88% last month to 96.5% this month. The expenditures went from 89% to 103% this month. So if you look down to the bottom, you'll see the audited balance of $3,064,000. You'll also see that this, as of June the 30th, over the course of the year, and this is still not final yet, because as of June 30th means we've stopped spending, but it doesn't mean we've finalized all of our books yet. So this over the course of the year, we're down about $265,000 more than what we took in revenue, which is going to bring down our fund balance a little bit. We still are projecting around a 10%, but again, we still don't know exactly what that's going to look like, because we did pay down some of our lease payments this year, and that's going to factor in when the auditor figures out what our actual restricted and unrestricted balances are. On page 2, last month, we had a $285,000 balance, and this month, we're looking at $313 for debt service. Came up a little bit. On page 3, which is the fixed capital funds, last month, it was looking like we were going to have $1.6 million there. This month, we have $1.4 million. And that's because we're buying the air conditioners and we're doing all of those upgrades in the schools for the ventilation systems. In food service fund, last month it looked like it was about $66,000 we would carry forward. This month is looking more like $85,000, but they still have June and July claims, food claims pending on that. And then the last page is the federal dollars. We have some flags money that's pending that we're going to be pulling down, but it looks like we've taken in about 70% of that revenue and about 74% of the expenditures. However, some of that revenue in there is going to be crossing school years, like the ESSER revenue is going to be crossing school years. And there's some distance learning and a few of the other things are going to be crossing school years. So it still looks like we're in decent shape, especially since we're going into the next budget year with $750,000 less in revenue coming in. So are there any questions?
No, ma'am, I don't have any. Do any other board members have a question for Ms. Rainick?
You mentioned the $750,000 less. That was due to FTE mainly?
Mostly the FTE and the dollars that we're losing for family empowerment in McKay. Yep.
And ESSER, the federal money, that's only a temporary, that's a one-time deal.
That's a one-time deal.
One-time deal. And
It's very restricted.
Very restricted.
Regardless of what we're seeing on the news, there are certain things that are allowable and not allowable with that money. So we have to make sure that we spend it wisely because we don't want to be in a position of having to pay it back.
Right.
And not being dependent on it for next year to operate.
Right, right. We
So
really have to
supplement.
get a sound footing because once that goes away, all these recurring positions and things like that are going to have to go with it because we won't be able to afford it. Unless we have a really upswing in enrollment, which would be wonderful.
Okay, thank you. Let's see here. Our next is, oh, did we vote? No? Sorry about that again. Okay, is there a motion to approve the monthly financial report ending June the 30th, 2021?
I make the motion to approve.
It's properly moved by Mr. Carroll. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Williamson. Any discussion? Okay, no discussion. All those in favor, show a hand, please. 5-0, Ms. Bishop, for approval. 5.5, Code of Student Conduct, public hearing, Mr. Killingsworth.
Coming back before you, we put this out a little over a month ago. I've spoke with y'all with some of the tweaks that y'all have asked. I've already done those tweaks in it. So basically what I am asking is if you will approve this so that I can go to print so that we will then be able to get it to the schools so that we will have it when the schools start doing their orientation with their kids, because you'll have to have this for students as well as parents, which, you know, they can use the student's copy, and our employees. So I'm just asking your approval at this time.
Okay, at this time, we will open the Code of Student Conduct up for public hearing. It's been open for public hearing, so if anyone in the audience would have questions or comments concerning it, this is the time to address the Code of Conduct. If there's no questions, comments, or concerns, I will close the public hearing. And is there a motion to accept the Code of Student Conduct?
I made the motion to accept the code of student conduct.
It's been properly moved by Ms. Bell. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Gibson. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, all those in favor of the Code of Student Conduct, show of hand, please. 5-0, Ms. Bishop, for approval of the Code of Student Conduct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben, for making those changes. I think it made it real clear.
Okay. Okay, the next item, superintendent items, Ms. Joseph.
Mr. Chair, a couple of things. I placed at your location a copy of our administrative agenda, administrative retreat agenda. We were involved in day 2 of our administrative retreat agenda today. And 2 of the people that we had doing presenting today was Mary Todd and Portia Griffith with the Florida Abuse Hotline. And they talked about, shared with all the administrators, the district administrators and school principals and APs, the process that we go through with reporting child abuse. And I think it was very useful and something that we needed. Another presentation we had, something that we used to attend the legislative update that they usually have. We used to attend down in Lake City. We haven't gone to it in a few years, but Brian Moore, who is the general counsel with the Florida Association of District School Superintendents, he came and did a presentation to us today on that. And if I do say so myself, I think we had a very informative agenda today.
Good.
One other thing, our countywide, we will be having that this year, and that's scheduled for August the 5th. Probably around 9 or 10 o'clock in the day. Is anyone planning on attending? Do we need to advertise it for board members to attend?
In the past, I don't think we've advertised, we've just gone.
Okay. But I will send you an invite later on, but it's going to be August 5th.
That's the training? What is on the 5th now?
Okay, that's our countywide, that's where we have a general opening the school meeting with all the school personnel.
On the 5th?
Mhm.
All of the schools are having open house that day too, aren't they?
Not all of them. Ms. Hill, you have the open house dates? Okay, I think that the way we're doing open house, we have the K through 5. All the K through 5's open house is going to be on the same date. And then the middle school will be on one date, and the high school will be on a different date. But we'll get those dates to you. But yes, all the K-5s will have the open house at the same time. That's it, Mr.
That's
Chair.
it? Okay. Mr. Reeves?
No, sir, not unless you have questions.
Mr. Carroll?
I just want to thank Ms. Rainick for that explanation. And putting it where those old poor farmers can understand that stuff. So, and that's all.
Ms. Bell?
I'm with Mr. Carroll here. Thank you for the information, and I would like a copy of it also. Thank you.
Electronically or hard copy?
You can send it to me at my email, that's fine.
I'd like a hard copy, please. And thank you for that. That was a very good explanation. I'd also like to thank Mr. Killingsworth for the information he provides. Mr. Goyette, Mrs. Hill, who are all here tonight, and the resource officer. Thank you for being here. I'm sorry I don't know your name, but
Stallmaker, I'm John.
Oh, yeah, okay, Officer Stallmaker. Well, we're happy to have you here tonight. Thank you. And Miss Becky, we'll add you to the list too. Thank you. It's always a pleasure seeing you. Yeah.
Okay, Ms. Williamson?
I don't know who to thank, but whoever saw about getting that light out of that parking lot so that we won't trip and break our neck, thank you so much. It's been dark out there a lot. I didn't notice it because I guess we get out in the day. It's not dark yet, but the other night I came by and it's like, they've got that place lit up. So thank you to Mr. Killingsworth or Mr. Ginn or Mr. Joseph, whoever did that. And I want to thank all those that presented some information to us tonight and all the hard work you do, and we appreciate it.
Okay, and I would like to also thank all the administrators here at the county office for all they do. And Ms. Joseph, had the schools got back of when they're saying the schools are going to be clean, that we could come to like,
The 3 outlying schools.
Are clean.
They're clean. We're still in summer school, and Thursday's the last day of summer school
okay,
at the high school and the central school.
so maybe the 1st of August, it should be, I mean, when do,
I mean, you can go to the, other than tomorrow, because we're gonna be in day 3 of our administrative retreat. For the outlying schools, you can visit them this week. You can start visiting them this week. For the high school and the central school, let's give them at least a week to do their final cleaning.
okay. So the 1st of August,
Yes.
they should be ready. Okay.
And I did speak with them today. They are planning to come and do a presentation at the board about their plans or academic plans for the year.
Okay, thank you. I had last, maybe in our agenda review, I had requested of the superintendent that all the principals come and give their plan of how they're planning to facilitate learning and making the gains this next year, and for us to take a look at last year's school improvement plans to see how we met those goals based on test scores. Once those are all in, when do we know, when are we expecting the rest of the FSA scores to be in?
At least by July 30th.
By July 30th?
They haven't told us anything different. But I tentatively scheduled the principals to attend that second meeting in August.
Okay, okay, thank you. Thank you. That's all I have for tonight. Just wishing everyone a great start of the school year. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
It's been properly moved by Ms. Bell to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Gibson. All those in favor, show a hand, please. 5-0, Ms. Bishop, for approval to adjourn.